digital realm where the bytes align. There's a hacker named Tiberius, one of a kind, with a mind like a vault and skills so defined. He breaks through the web, leaving no trace behind. On Red Hat Wednesday, he's the star of the stream, guiding you through cyberspace, where the data gleams with auto recon. He starts to scheme, mapping networks, fulfilling his dreams. Creator of tools that cut like a knife, auto recon to shout, it's his hacking life. 2 courses of privilege, he escalates the scene from the ground to the cloud. He's a hacking machine, but beware of the trap, the SQL deceit. R1 equals 1, the trick's so obsolete. He hates it the most, it's a lazy feat. For Tiberius seeks challenges, he won't accept defeat. On Web App Wednesday, watch him unveil the secrets of hacking without any fail. With wisdom and passion, he tells his tale. In the world of cyber, he always prevails. So here's to Tiberius, the ethical hacker with flair. On his live stream journey, he takes you there to the depths of web apps with time to spare. He's a guardian of the net with knowledge to share.
Okay, it would help if I turn my mic on. Hello. That's better, right? I did all the things apart from hit the unmute button. Yeah, I know. I realized, because I always look across to make sure my mic's fucking working, and it usually is. This time, it's not. Is the background music working? I think it is. Excellent. Yeah, if you don't like the AI music, well, you're on the wrong fucking stream.
Woo.
We got too many. I need to make more songs, honestly.
Thank you for
We need some fresh ones. Maybe I'll do that this evening. Redacted, thank you for the Prime sub. You've subscribed for 28 months. Holy crap. On a 27-month streak, though. What happened at the beginning, man? What happened? 27-month streak, but the first month was like, yeah, this guy's alright, I guess. Namari 12, thank you for the Prime sub as well. I forget. Well, I mean, it was 27 months ago, so yeah. A Viking opera, that might be an interesting one. Bonzo subscribing as well. It hasn't alerted yet, but I'm sure it will.
New subscription received. Dispensing gratitude.
Thank you, Bonzo, for the 26-month subscription.
Thank you for following.
And we've got some new followers as well. Nihilist 993934. Good name. Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to be doing... So, HackingHub have released some interactive SQL injection labs, apparently. So we're gonna do that. Yeah, we haven't got a hype train yet. We're at level 1, 93%. You got 3 minutes 40 seconds to complete the hype train. Last time we got to level 3.
Thank you for following.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's been a few videos. Obviously, John Hammond and Nahamsek have released videos on this. But then again, those guys literally own this site. So that makes sense. I was disappointed. So I'll say this. I was... What's the opposite of disappointed? Appointed? We're going to go with appointed. I was appointed with Adam Langley because he was teaching Nahamsek and was basically like, use and 1 equals 1 and was showing why. And then Nahamsek was like, can we use all 1 equals 1? And Adam was, you could see Adam was like, anyway, Adam, I think, did a good job of trying to sort of guide Ben away from all one equals one. Because we know, chat. Everyone in my fucking stream. There we go. We got a hype train. Hype train level 1. Thank you so much.
Hype train started.
Age of
New
Music, thank you for
subscription
gifting the 1 tier
Dispensing
sub
gratitude.
to
Gratitude dispense.
Ocelot 409. Thank you so much. Excellent. Yeah, so everyone who watches my streams knows you never use all 1 equals 1. Well, I say never. The rule. If you want Tiberius's law, we can call it. Right? Tiberius's law is you only ever use all 1 equals 1 as a last resort in real world engagements. And if you're in a CTF, sure, why not? You know, so real world last resort. Like, I'm never going to say never, although I do say never a lot in like my documentation, because honestly, you so very rarely actually need it. It's kind of dumb that it's so widespread. So you can definitely use it, but I don't ever really. I've never encountered a situation where I've ever needed it. But then again, I am pretty good at SQL injection. My favorite is and1 equals 2. And1 equals 2 works. That's the thing. That you're joking, but that's actually a good point. So, and1 equals 2 is good when you've used an and1 equals 1. That's how you do blind detection. If an and1 equals 1 returns something and an and1 equals 2 doesn't, right? That's a really good indicator of SQL injection. Or at least some kind of logic injection. Right? That's what a lot of people understand. Whereas if you have an all 1 equals 1 and an all 1 equals 2, there can definitely be a difference. But there can also be situations where an all 1 equals 1 and an all 1 equals 2 return the exact same thing. And therefore, it's not a very good indicator of SQL injection. Whereas if you have an and1 equals 1 returning one behavior and an and1 equals 2 returning a second behavior, that's a really good indicator of SQL injection. Sorry, my mic is being weird. My mic stand, I should say. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Hello, Lewis. Hello, welcome. So yeah. Catching up on some chores, then B-side volunteer meeting. Which B-sides? I have I've started submitting talks for basically the end of this year and the beginning of next year's conferences. So I've submitted to B-side Chicago, which is in November, and I've also submitted to who did I submit to this time? Can't remember. I have submitted to 2 though. Someone tip my tongue. I'm also submitting to ShmooCon when they open. Oh, damn it, now that's going to annoy me. Come on. Maybe it was only B-side Chicago. Okay, I think it was only B-side Chicago so far. All right. Orlando, though. Did you come to Hack SpaceCon? Because Hack SpaceCon is definitely worth going to next year if you didn't. PMPT mention? I mean, PMPT is pretty good. Can you explain to me, like I'm 12, how open redirection DOM-based works? I don't think anything that's DOM-based could be explained to a 12-year-old. But I mean, effectively, it's where a some input from the browser, usually from the URL somewhere in the URL, gets passed or gets read by JavaScript code that's executing in the browser, and it gets passed to a redirect function. And you can therefore control the location of the redirect and make it redirect somewhere else. Somewhere it's not supposed to, really. The only, like, it's exactly the same. Anything that's DOM-based, the only difference, realistically, is that instead of the vulnerability happening server-side, it's all happening client-side. Right? So DOM-based just literally means that it's JavaScript executing in the browser that's grabbing the exploit value, the payload, and putting it into a function, and your payload is basically, sometimes your payload is literally just doing something like if you just put a URL, it's passing the URL directly to the redirect. Sometimes you're maybe manipulating the value that's already been there to cause a redirect somewhere else. It's complicated. Like I said, you can't really explain it to a 12-year-old, but everything's happening in the browser. As opposed to regular open redirects where the redirect happens the server side, right? So you send a URL, like a URL in a parameter, and then it's the server doing like a 302 or a 301 redirect. All right, well, I've lost track of chat now. I hate DOM stuff. Everybody does. Shouldn't you be working, Tibbs? It's 5. Also, I've been working all day. Also, I'm going to go back to work after this is over. And my manager says that's okay. Look, Cobalt works with me, so but it's definitely work hours. It's not work hours right now. It is in Minnesota, because you guys are an hour behind me. I'm not even sure where Lord Kobar is. Stop getting on my back, man. I've been working all day. I've been finding plenty of bugs. Okay. Watch Feud VOD from DC32. It's not actually there. Unless have they released it? We watched it on this channel, but I don't think I was supposed to. So everyone be quiet. I had a recording, one of my friends recorded it from Twitch for me. Well, there you go. You're in Minnesota. So you got 45 minutes of work left. Why are you on here, Lil Kobar? What are you doing watching Twitch at work, huh? Huh? Get back to work. Or does this count as educational? So far, it hasn't been. All right. What are we doing now? How do you handle redirects when trying to brute force a login? I don't... Can you expand on that, maybe? Because, that's... ordinarily, a redirect on a login, in 90% of circumstances, 90% of cases, a redirect only happens on a login when you have a correct login, right? It'll often just redirect you to the, the dashboard or something. Whereas, if the login fails, it'll usually just present you with a page that says, by the way, your login failed. How's the new job going? Great. Back on web stuff full time? Yes. It only does the web stuff. XSS best bug to focus on for beginners? I mean, I don't know. What are you trying to do? Just bug bounty? Bug bounty, any bug, really. XSS is obviously, a nice one to start off with because it's quite easy to find. But yeah. Delivering a port as we speak, FYI. Well, go deliver it, man. Get glocked. So, if the redirect is happening from the server, and there's generally two ways that happens. There's either a location header, right, with a 301 or a 302. Then you can literally do, if you really want to remove all redirects, you could basically turn any any 300 like 30x codes into just a 200, right? And remove the location header. If that's how we're doing it. The other way is if there's like they're using a meta tag. So technically, you may get a 200 page returned, and then in the HTML there's a meta tag, which does a meta. It's like a refresh, and that's technically coming from the server, but the redirect kind of is. It's coming from the server, but the redirect actually happens because it's triggered in the browser. Still not DOM, kind of. It is, as we all know, the DOM is basically everywhere, but. You can just remove that meta redirect. Some redirects are clever and return 200 and then introduce a location header. Yeah, you gotta remove a location header. Like, technically, the browser should just display the page. I'm actually not sure which browsers do what. I imagine they all redirect anyway. But yeah, in Burp, if you're using like Intruder, you can literally tell Intruder not to follow redirects, and it won't. So yeah. All right. Okay, let's do this. Well, actually, firstly, chat, what are we gonna do first? First thing we always do in these streams. We're going to play marbles. We is going to play the marble game. Do a community map. Everyone's typing exclamation point play. Lord Kobar should be typing his report. Instead, Lord Kobar is typing exclamation point play. If he's not careful, a report is going to go out to a customer and it's going to have exclamation point play written in it for some random reason. All right, let's do this one. Which would be legitimately hilarious. They'd be like, okay, the report was great. Like, everything was understandable. Why is there this exclamation point play in the middle of this finding? Okay, now you can type exclamation point play, chat. I was trying to win a marble race. Like, what? Oh boy. So yeah, next week, next Wednesday, I actually don't know if I'll be streaming. So here's the thing. Next Wednesday evening, I fly out to the UK. I'll be in the UK for like a week. What was the fail for? Was that because I'm going to the UK? Damn. I'm not going to do a gamble. We're just going to start. Exclamation point play. This is not a giveaway, by the way. This is just a regular start of the stream. It's so freaking dark on this map. I think we're going this way. So I'm going to the UK because... Why can't I go up? Okay. That's weird. I have been invited to go see the Portswigger officers. So, yes, I am literally going to be spending the whole day at Portswigger, which is really cool. And, yeah, and then I'm staying like an extra week just to see people. I will be taking a vlog. I literally bought some new vlogging equipment. So I am bringing an umbrella. Yeah, I'll probably have to bring an umbrella. So I'll be making some vlogs. I'm hopeful. I need to actually speak. I might be meeting up with Insider PhD if I'm in Manchester long enough. I'm meeting up with Andy Swift, who I recently interviewed. Well, I say recently. I interviewed him like over a month ago, and then I just like editing was a fucking pain in the ass. Anyway, the video is on YouTube. If you're in the UK and you're interested in cybersecurity, getting into pen testing, that video is great. Andy's really cool, really knowledgeable. He was a junior pen tester, and he is now a technical director at a big cloud security company in the UK. So there you go. Moral of the story is don't do what he did because you'll end up with a boring technical director job. But his advice for like getting into the industry is pretty good. I kid, obviously. Oh, okay. I thought Daisy just died, but nope. Oh, man, I think Daisy is dead now. I think you weren't supposed to go down there. This is really confusing. This is such a dark map. I already fucking hate it. Anyway, yeah, Andy's a really good friend of mine. We're thinking of making a podcast because honestly, I have another video with it. So the interview went on so long, like I managed to edit it down to what was it, 1 hour 20 on YouTube. I had to cut 15 minutes off because at the end we just went through some stories. We reminisced for like 15 minutes. And I was like, oh my god, if I put this in the fucking interview video, it's going to be like, it's just going to be almost 2 hours long. It's going to be insane. So I cut it off and I'm making it into a new video. But then we were like, you know what? We have a ton of stories we could tell. Wouldn't that be cool if we just like did like a podcast where we told some stories? So we're gonna try that out, I think. Lost another one to management. I know. I'm gonna have to do it eventually. I feel like I'm so close to like peaking in terms of salary. It's just a pen tester. Well done, Nemps. It's really annoying. I just don't want to. I really don't want to. I just like pen testing. But maybe I'd make a good manager. I have no idea. All right. Nuban, Shitwolfie makes, Bucked Unicorn. Me coming 5th. We should have done a Gamba. Would pen testers go to die? Yeah, maybe. Tag people in management are critical because it prevents salespeople. Yeah, true. Oh, wow. A lot of people just didn't finish. I'm not sure if that's because they died or they got eaten by the fire. I guess that's technically the same thing. All right, excellent. What's my salary? I'm on 180,000. My bonus is 25% though, which is pretty nice. TCM was making 190, so I took a little bit of a pay cut when I came to NetSpy, but the bonus makes up for it. I forget what the bonus was at TCM. It was not 25% though. So yeah, it's pretty good. That's not a lot. What, 180? I mean, pretty good for pen testing. When I put my salary information up on Twitter once, and everyone was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, you're really well paid." Senior devs have it best. They make it anyway. Yeah, but the problem is work hours. Like, I'm sorry, but like, yeah, they're paid 300K, but like the work hours are ridiculous. My work hours are 40 hours a week, and that's it. So, honestly, I'm fine. Like, the amount of stress senior devs have to go through as well is freaking crazy. $70K and I work like 20 hours a week. I mean, that's fine. All right. Understanding SQL. I have not even I didn't even watch the videos that much. Like, I watched clips from them. Time is more important to me. I mean, sure. But I feel like working 40 hours for 180k is pretty damn good. Oh yeah, I mean, UK, Europe wages suck. And then the taxes are higher as well. Which is kind of insane. Yeah, honestly, moving to the US is like cheat code for everyone in Europe. If you can do it, definitely do it. Especially because, like, you know, I live in a state. I mean, it doesn't have that high taxes. It used to, and it has the nickname Taxachusetts, but it's really such a stupid nickname because honestly, the taxes in Massachusetts are honestly pretty reasonable. Like, they're nowhere near the worst. But like, there are states you can go to where there are literally no income taxes. You just pay federal income tax. Yeah, exactly. Like in the 70s, Massachusetts had ridiculous taxes. Now we don't. Now we're actually pretty good. We're not too high, but we're also not low, and we also have the best school system in the country. So like, yeah, I mean, a lot of states have an income tax. Like states like Texas don't, Nevada, New Hampshire. But yeah. Expected rate for a senior pen tester. The issue is the term senior pen tester is it's confusing because it like and this is the issue. Like, I feel like we need to do away with the terms like junior, senior, because realistically they're meaningless now. We should do years experience, because arguably a senior could be 5 years experience in pen testing. Arguably. But like, I'm technically, I mean, my job title is principal. Like, I'm a principal pen tester, or principal security consultant. Realistically, how many years experience to be a non-junior? I would say it's like, if you're really good, then 1 year as a junior, and you'll probably promote. You don't go to senior. That's the thing. There's what do you call a person that's between junior and senior? Is it just pen tester? Like that's kind of the weird thing. But so if you're really good, then 1 year as a junior, you're probably fine. But if you're not amazing, then 2 years probably. So 1 to 2 years as a junior, then probably 3, 4, 5 at that mid level, then senior, and then, you know, again senior 3, 4, 5 years, then you get a principal or something. I don't know. But that's the thing. It really makes no sense. So a senior pen tester, it's hard. I would argue if you're not paying senior at least 155-ish, then in like America, then you're probably underpaying them. I think for a senior pen tester, 150, 155 is probably good. Seven years experience, lead a small team in the EU. But that's the thing, you just said you lead a small team. That's different. You're management. Like that's another, you can't just, I don't know. If you're a team lead, arguably you could be upwards of 180 in the US. Just because you have those extra responsibilities. So can you do both management and testing? Yeah, possibly. Some companies might. All right. Launch hub. Oh, here we go. Preparing. Gar7's in the chat. Oh, here we go. We're going to do a shout out. I see Helen as well. I'm going to shout out Helen. Go follow Helen. Can I do 2 shout outs? I feel like I can't do 2 shout outs. 1 minute 54 seconds. I don't know why it doesn't let you... like, I'm the fucking streamer. I want to shout out more people. Oh, well, thanks. You noticed me. God damn it. Can I take back shout outs? Is that possible? How'd you delete a shout out? All right, everyone just ignore when I shout out Helen. Instead, just imagine it's Gar. Fucking Helen. If you don't, okay, so if you're unaware, Helen's one of my best friends. And because she's my best friend,
I don't give a shit about your opinion. Get fucked.
She can insult me and I can insult her and it's fine. Okay, so just FYI. All right, the hate is love. Okay. Okay. Oh look, there's 10 different. Are these 10 different labs? This is really cool. If it is. So. Okay, I mean, let's just try some stuff. Oh, I probably should. Oh yeah, I am in. Is it? Oh, hang on. Is it literally just selecting? Is this just a lab? Hang on. We'll just do a select one. Invalid data set. Oh, hang on. Is this just... Alright, we'll go through this because I feel this is going to be easy. Alright, select all the columns from the table named customers. If you want to select all of anything in SQL, you do basically an asterisk. And then you do from customers. There we go. Boom. You cannot do... So one thing you can't do is you can't... If you're using tables, you shouldn't be able to put single quotes around tables. That's a string. However, you can put backticks. So backticks are generally reserved in SQL for identifiers. But, and this is basically, hey, this is an identifier. This is the customer's identifier. Okay. We're not using SQL map. Okay. Is that... Have I done that? Is that what we do now? I don't want... Hang on. Let's go back and... Oh. Can I go back? Okay. It just tells me. Okay, fine. All right. Next. Select the ID and first name columns from the table named customers. So basically this is the same damn thing as before. Oh, my mic's getting in the way. Yeah. Is that better? Cool. This is the same thing as before, so we're going to do select. Oops. But instead of doing the asterisk for all, we only want the ID and first name columns. So we just do ID, comma, first name. Boom, done. Select the ID and first name columns. I should really have just copied everything. From the table named customers where the ID is equal to 1. All right, so this one is select ID, comma, first name from and if we're being good here, we should probably put these in capitals. So anything that's not referring to some kind of identifier should probably be in capital letters. It's kind of the standard. So here's what we had before. Select ID and first name from customers, right? Where the ID is equal to 1. So what you usually do is just that. Now, sometimes this might be ambiguous. Okay? If you are joining two tables, like if you're joining like a customers table with like an accounts table into one big table, there might be two ID fields. So how you would generally get around this is what you can do is you can actually say customer.id. Oh, sorry, customers.id. Okay, and this is just... SQL generally understands this as, hey, this is the table, this is a column name. So this technically should work. There you go, yeah, it does. Alright. But also this would have worked. Done. Select the ID and first name columns from the table name customers where the first name column starts with a B. Okay, so first name. This can be done a few ways, but the easiest way is just to use like. So in like, what you would do is do B and then a percentage sign in quotes. And then that basically this is just a wildcard. So it's going to look for any string which starts with a B and then has a wildcard like that. And then you get Bob and Brian. Okay, first name column starts with a B and the ID is greater than 2. So this is introducing the concept of AND. So we do ID greater than 2. Very simple. We just get Brian. Lovely. Select all the columns from the table name customers in ascending order by the column ID. Okay, so by the column ID, right? So select all. We need to change this again back to here. And now, so we could do an order here if we wanted to, but obviously we need to get rid of this where. So order never comes before where. There is an ordering of these. A select always comes before a from. The where always comes afterwards. You can't do an order before a where. You have to do it last. In this case, we don't even need a where, so we can do order by. And then the column ID is that. And then ascending order is just ask. And that should work. There we go. And just to show that works, we can do descending. Invalid data set, whatever. Yeah, so there you go. See? Now it's 3, 2, 1. And just to show you again, let's do last name. Oops. Last name ascending. All right, so we've got GLS. Done. We'll replace this by ID again now. Hooray, we won. Select all columns from the table named customers in descending order by the... Oh, okay, we did this, so that's just literally that again. Can we do a shout out yet? Let's shout out. Gar7. Boom! Shout out Gar7. Hello, Gar. Welcome. Alright. They've said descending order, technically, not descending. Alright, select all... probably zoomed in. This is probably really bad for everybody. Sorry. Select all columns from the table named customers, but limit the results just the first row. Okay. So again, we don't need to order it anymore. We need to do a limit. And luckily, this is MySQL. I know that because of the errors, but we can just do limit 1. So I believe if we do limit 1, 2... Yeah. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, this is the confusing thing. Okay, so... Limit 1, 2 technically means show only 2 rows, but offset 1. There's a weird syntax. So if we wanted to do this, offset 1, that should show row 2. Yes. So, and if we wanted to do this, right? So basically, we're limiting it to 1 row, right? 1 row is being returned. But we're offsetting by 2. So usually it would be ID 1. Now we're at 2. However, this is where I really disagree with the freaking syntax, because you'd think the shorthand version of this, right? If you just want to have a shorthand version, you would just do something like that. But that doesn't work. You have to reverse it for some stupid reason. I don't know why. It makes no goddamn sense. Because that kind of makes sense. Anyway. Alright. Limit skip. Select all columns from the table named customers, but limit the rows to the second row. I'm skipping ahead again. So offset 1. Done. Or, as we've seen, technically speaking, we can just do this now, but but this the one that was at the end is actually this one now. Okay. Select the email columns from the customers and suppliers table. So is it just doing a join? Is it just wanting to do a natural join or something? I don't know. So we want to do select email. So technically you can do this, but this might be really messy. It's probably an error. Yeah. See, ambiguous. So what we want to do. So here's a trick as well. If you don't want to, if you're really lazy and you don't want to type customers.email, suppliers.email, what you can do is you can do this and then do this. That should work. Okay, it didn't. Why did that not work? Do we have to actually literally do a join? Wait, left? Is it a left join? Oh, they want to do a union. I should probably just read this fucking thing, shouldn't I? You can do it with a join, though. Select email from... There we go. Saying, didn't my version work? Maybe it duplicated it. Hang on, I'm going to try my way again. Because we can literally do just like as... Technically, this is shorthand again. So instead of as A, you can just do customers space A. Suppliers space B. A. Or A dot. I think this might have 6 rows, though. Oh, email. That would help. Oh, this... Okay. Do I have... Maybe I have to do it...
Streamer.
Oh my god, I can't freaking type. Email 2, is that it? That's what... Okay, right. That's what I was thinking they meant. Yeah, but a union does make way more sense. Yeah. Okay, we're done. Oh, we've done these labs piss easy. Okay. Retrieve the flag. What's the value of the flag in the flag table? Okay, well, what we can do is presumably we can just show databases first. Okay, so we know that there's an SQL1 database. I imagine that's the one we're in, actually, so I didn't need to do that. We can just select show tables. We've got a flag table. We can tell it to describe the flag table. And so now we know that there's an ID and a flag field, so we can just... I mean, we could have just done select all from flag, but... Oops. Flag, here we go. We could have just done this. There you go. Flag, done. Easy. Okay. Tweet my success. I'm not tweeting about my success doing that. Okay, well that was easy. So this is the actual SQL injection, I imagine. Okay, cool.
Thank you for following.
Okay, we have apparently these SQL injection maps now. I wonder why I'm in the EU. That's kind of weird. Okay.
Thank you for following.
This is the public article. Read more. Lovely. Always click links. We have an ID in the URL now. If I go to the page source, I could probably have seen that. Yeah, literally the only link that seems to go anywhere useful is this one. So we'll do that. So let's see. Let's just put a... Oh, there we go. So I put a single quote. You can't see it. It's been URL encoded here. We have a single quote, and now we have, you have an error in your SQL syntax. Check the manual. It corresponds to blah, blah, blah. Right? So, cool. So if we follow, let's go to my website, because we have the cool methods. We have the SQL injection cheat sheet. I will shove this in chat as well. This is a free resource. This teaches you a lot of stuff. Like, I mean, the first thing it teaches you is the pronunciation guide. There are various ways of saying SQL. Only one of them is correct. One of them is definitely wrong. One of them is acceptable. And then Squirrel and Squirtle are just, you know, cute. Since when was this a thing? I released it at NahamCon. And I also tweeted about it. If you're not following me on Twitter, that's where most of my shit gets announced. So we have an avoiding or true, or 1 equals 1, blah, blah, blah. This though. The break and repair method. Tried and tested, tried and true break and repair method. We break the statement by injecting a single or double quote. Well, we saw how that worked, right? So we have a statement here. We broke it. Oh, look, it's broken. Fatal error means it's broken. All right. And then we replace the injected quote with each of the following repairs in turn. Okay, so let's actually use... Let's send this to repeater.
New subscription received.
And I will actually just use
gratitude.
this.
Gratitude dispensed.
So here we go. We have this lovely uncaught fatal error, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we're going to replace the injection. So our injection here was this single quote, right? So we're going to replace it with this, which you need to obviously URL encode the middle of it, which is just a plus. Okay, we still get that. Replace it. So replace the space with double bars or pipes. Still fatal. Replace it with an actual plus. So we would have to URL encode that again to %2b. Still get that. Okay, the next thing we can do is we can try something like this. Now, in this case, I know for a fact we're going to... None of these are going to work. Oh, God, hang on. So, URL encode all that. Lovely. And then finally, this one. So, we'll URL encode that. Okay, none of those worked. And the reason they didn't work is because we're actually injecting into an integer value. I go into this here. In some of these cases, none of our repairs work because we're injecting into an integer value. See, I literally just said that. And so what happens if we just do this then? What happens if we replace our single quote with just that? And we need to URL encode the plus at least. Oh, look! That kind of fixed it. Can we also do this? We need a space. Well, I do actually say that each one starts with a space. I probably should have, technically speaking, put a space in here as well. Okay. So what we'll do there is we'll URL encode that. Oh, look, that one works as well. All right. So clearly this is no longer... This ID is supposed to be a 1, but it's no longer a 1. It's a 1 and 1 equals 1. And yet we're still getting the number 1 article back. Why is that? I wonder why. Okay. So we confirmed this is really indicative of SQL injection. And like I was saying before, if we turn this to an and 1 equals 2, right? Oh! This is why AND is so powerful. AND 1 equals 1 gave us article 1. AND 1 equals 2 gave us nothing. Because suddenly we've made this statement with an AND 1 equals 2 match absolutely no rows in the database. That's like almost a guarantee. So of course it can't find the article because we've told it you have to match an article where its ID is equal to 1 and where 1 equals 2. And because 1 is never equal to 2, all right, we can't locate the article. This is why it's so powerful. Okay? And this is also why,
Subscription received.
if we do all 1 equals
Gratitude.
1...
Gratitude
No,
dispensed.
I can do this because I'm a professional, but don't do this. All right, don't do this at home, kids. We do an all 1 equals 1. Okay, we get article 1. If we do an all 1 equals 2... Oh, we get an article 1 again. This is fucking useless. This tells me nothing. Useless. And. Lovely. And lovely or useless. Anyway. Okay. So. We don't really need to identify any variants, but we can. I know it's MySQL, so we can because it's literally going to be the first one. Easiest way to identify MySQL. So we know that we have an AND 1 equals 1 working. All right. But we can also do something like this. We can do AND the string foo with a space. Remember, a plus is a space. Bar equals foobar. Okay, this didn't work. That's interesting. Oh, is it doubling up the single quotes? It might be doubling up the single quotes. Or maybe I need to do this. No. Hang on. Let me just try something. 1 equals 1. Huh. Did I just... Okay, I mean, we can just do it now, I guess. We can just try foo space bar equals foobar. Okay, that worked. Why did it not work before? Oh, because I didn't put an AND. I'm an idiot. I need another AND. I was starting to think, oh my god, no, my technique is broken. Yeah, I need an AND between the AND 1 equals 1 and foo. So here you go. Look at this crap. Look at this weird shit we're doing now. So we got the 1. This is the article ID. And AND 1 equals 1 we don't technically need, but we're going to leave it there. Screw it. And then we have this AND. Foo space bar, in quotes, equals foobar. And then, technically speaking, we don't even need this crap. Yeah. This will only work in MySQL. It's a little... I mean, I say it'll only work in MySQL. It'll work in MariaDB as well, right? Because MariaDB is based on MySQL. When I say stuff will only work in MySQL, what I'm really meaning is it will work in MySQL and all database variants that are based off MySQL. So this will work in MariaDB as well. But given that they're basically the same database, it doesn't really matter. They all sort of work the same way. The reason this works, and it only works in MySQL and its variants, is because if you do a space between 2 strings in MySQL, for whatever reason, that's the concatenator operator. All right, it's the shorthand concatenator operator in MySQL. If we scroll down to how to concatenation, right? This cheat sheet is awesome, by the way. Even though I made it myself, I'm going to still say it's awesome. String concatenation. So every single database uses concat. You've probably seen it being used, right? It's a concat function. You stick 2 or more arguments, like strings, into this, and it will spit out foobar, right? However, they all also usually have a shorthand. For example, in Postgres, if you do the 2 bars, right, or pipe symbols, and also in Oracle and SQLite, that will concatenate. These all result in the string foobar. In MS SQL, an actual literal plus, right, will result in this. And that's different to what we had here. This is not a literal plus. This is a URL encoded, right? It's URL encoded space. If you want to convert this to a literal plus, you have to URL encode it again to %2b. But we don't have that. We literally have a space. That's why when I select all of this and burp decodes it for me, we have a space here. So anyway, yeah, MS SQL uses a plus, and MySQL just uses a space. For some, I don't know why. It's kind of weird, but fun, right? So, because MySQL is the only database I know of, at least of the big five, to do this, you can pretty conclusively say this is MySQL. Even though, technically speaking, we knew this was MySQL because we had an error. All right, and it literally says MySQL there, look. Boom. But if we didn't know that, this is a really fun way of just figuring this shit out. Okay. I'm probably going completely off track because I'm pretty sure all we need to do is union stuff, right? What's the value of the flag in the flag table? I mean, so here's the thing. We could cheat because they've told us that there's a flag table. But let's figure out exactly how many tables are in this database, what they are, what their columns are, because that's really the useful shit. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the cheat sheet here. Well, actually, we're going to use a union attack. So the first thing we need to do is figure out how many columns there are, because when you're unioning statements, so what we have realistically here, okay, is, oh god, what's all this crap? Anyway, what we have is probably a query on the database that looks like this. Select, let's just say ID, name, text, or something, or I don't know, article, from articles where ID equals 1, right? And this is where we're injecting here. Okay, so this is probably the entire statement. It's using an integer. We know that because we were able to just do and 1 equals 1, and it didn't break everything. So, because, but it might be returning just these 3. It might be returning 4, 5, 6. I don't know. The issue with doing a union, because we could just stick a union on here. I don't know why I said unison anyway. Union select, like 1, 2. If we do that, that's technically a valid union. At least it's a valid select. This won't work because the number of columns being selected from the first query on the left-hand side of the union have to match the number of columns being selected on the right. Problem is we don't know how many that is. And there are a few ways you could find out. Easiest, though, is just to do an order by. Okay? So, previously we did an order by ID, right? And this might actually work. It does. But obviously we don't know, like, that doesn't really give us any information about how many columns there are. So the useful thing about an order by, though, is you don't have to refer to the column by its name. You can refer to it by its index. They all start at 1. So we can do an order by 1. All right? We could do an order by 2. Go. Okay? So you can just there's a couple of ways of doing it. You can increase this number until we get a failure, because obviously if you try and order by a column ID or a column index that doesn't exist, it's going to error out. But what we want to do first is some, instead of, because there can be like select statements with literal, I've had select statements with like 157 columns being selected, which is insane. Okay? But they exist. And so what you want to do is make sure your order by is actually going to generate some kind of error, right? Before you start going hunting for values. And so what I usually do is I'll start off with a value like 20. Okay, good. So a value like 20 gave us a fatal error. Column not found, unknown column 20. This is really good. But if this didn't work, what you would do is just keep doubling. So you do 40, 80, right, 160, screw it. Just go as high as you can, reasonably. This goes quite high quickly because we're doubling every time. double until you get an error, or until you reach, like, if you reach like 1,000 for some reason, right, you're very likely not injecting into some weird kind of database, right? You might be, but very doubtful that there's a table out there with 1,000 columns in it. That would kind of be insane. I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's really bad database design. Anyway, so we figured out that 20 was wrong. So now we do the reverse, right? Yeah, binary search. So we just have the value. So we know it's between, we knew it was between 20 and 2. Now we know it's between 2 and 10. Let's just go to 5. Okay, so it's definitely not 5. So, hey, we could probably just go to 3 and see what the hell happens. Okay, 3 works, but we don't use 3 yet, because just because 3 works doesn't mean we're selecting 3 columns. There could be 4. We know it's not 5. 4 works. Perfect. That means there are literally 4 columns being selected, right? So we don't know what they are. We're just going to call them 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? Or maybe we can call them A, B, C, and D. That'd probably be easier. B, C, and D. We don't know their names at all. One of them is probably ID. But these are the 4 columns being selected. And we just know there are 4. We know there are 4 because when we order by 4, it works. And when we order by 5, it doesn't. So literally there has to be 4 columns there. And by the way, this is not the number of columns in the table. Okay, it could be. But this is very specifically the number of columns being selected. This article's table could have like 10 columns in it. Okay? But this is the number that are being selected in this half of the union. That's very important. Okay, so don't go around thinking if you order by 4, like it means that there are 4 columns in the table. Okay? There might be more. Okay, so now we can start doing a union. And with a union, you need to select. I'm actually gonna have this automatically URL encoded. So we know there are 4 columns, so we need to at least select 4 things. And we can just do this. Union select 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it's gonna URL encode everything, that's fine. And let's send. And nothing worked. That's interesting, isn't it? Why did nothing work, chat? What's happening? Like that's a bit weird. We're unioning, so we should have if we union 1, 2, 3, 4. So what should happen is we should have a table here. Let's make our fake table. Right? So B, C, D. Okay. Yep. So what should be happening is we should be getting something like, well, we know let's just assume this is the ID or something, right? So, and then we have the name of the table. This is article 1. Right, and then maybe this was the description. This is going to look really bad, but anyway, hang on. Let's just do this. Okay, so maybe this is the description, which is this. Hang on. This is a public article. Let's shove that in here. Whoops. Okay. And then maybe this is the timestamp. Maybe this was literally, column D was the timestamp or something. All right, which isn't even used, but let's just say 20, 24. What's the date today? It's 08, 28, something, blah, blah. Let's just say that. Okay? So, if we do this, if we just execute this query, that's what we get, right? We get an ABCD table where ID equals 1. We're going to call this the ID, okay? In fact, what I'll do is I'll rename this just to make it clear. So this is the ID. Okay? ID equals 1. And we have all this. If we do a union, all this union does is it creates a new row where we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, but in a union, you usually see those values in the response, right? That's kind of the whole point of a union. Why aren't we seeing it? No table selected? No. Limit 1. Limit 1, we could try. I don't think it's going to do it. It might actually give us an error. No, but limit 1 didn't do anything. Maybe set ID to 0. Morale has it. But why? Why would that work? Let's change this 1 to a 0. Ooh. We have a 3 and a 4 now. Why did that work? Morale got it right away, but why? We need the explanation. Because there is no 0. Well, yeah, but like a bit of a better explanation than that. The limit idea, by the way, was almost there. So Neumann had the right idea, but you need a bit more than that. So if we went back to this limit idea, what you really wanted was this. And now we get 3 and 4. So you didn't want to limit 1. You want to limit... Technically, you want to limit 1 offset. Right? Then you get a 3 and a 4. Even though we have a 1 here. But why? Why do we need to do that? Because the web... Redacted... Yeah, Redacted has it. I wouldn't phrase it that way. Because the database is definitely returning 2 rows. Right? In our regular union here. Database is returning 2 rows. The application code, though. Alright? When the application code is processing this data... Because you gotta remember, this data is just returned to the code. Right? Maticus is here. Oh my god. Hang on. Where's the Maticus sound?
Maticus Maximus!
Maticus Maximus! Maticus Maximus!
When is mental health important? Always. All right, so let's just write some pseudocode here. The pseudocode is going to be very much like PHP because that's what I know. So let's just say we have this. So let's say we have this whole query here. And what happens is, what you usually do is do some kind of results equals query fetch rows or something like that. And or potentially, like, you might have like an iterator, right? So you might have something like while fetch rows as row. So basically iterating over each row, and then you would say, okay, name equals row. Let's just say the name was, I think it was C in this case, right? You would do something like name C, echo name, blah, 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 right? Okay, I'm just gonna ban this guy because he's clearly... Have I blocked him yet? The Maximus emote is before Matic. I mean, it shouldn't be. It's not on my screen. It's Maticus Maximus on my screen. Anyway. So, this is useful for when you want to display a bunch of rows. Okay? You would iterate over all the rows that were returned and then extract the data and then echo it out. So this is really useful for if you have like a table of users, right? If you have like a list of users and you want to show each user's username and then their like avatar or something, this would be used. But this is literally just showing a single article. The point of this functionality is, hey, just load in one article and show it. And so instead of this code, right, what the code is actually doing, it's probably just grabbing the first row. So it's literally going row equals query fetch rows, or maybe it might even be like a fetch row function, right? And that's just going to grab the first row, and then it's going to go echo the name, echo, I don't know, whatever the data from row D was. That's probably the article. Okay? So the issue is our injection's fine. Our union is technically getting data into the second row, but the second row is never being read. And so there are two ways around that. We can either make it so that the second row is the one that's read first, and that's what we did with the limit statement, where we said limit to one row, which is already happening, offset by 1, right? So if you offset by 1, you're going to start here, the second row. Okay? And so that's going to become our first row. That's one way of doing it for sure. However, if we don't have that option, then what we can do is we can just make this ID something invalid. Because this ID is the only reason why there's data here. Okay? So if we set this to 0, or if we set this to -1, right? Then that's going to happen. Okay? So, you got to remember, the first query in a union doesn't actually have to return any data. It can be completely empty. And this is a really useful technique. So, what we could do, instead of this limit 1 offset 1, is just change this to a 0 like we did, or change to a -1 will probably work. Yeah. Right? Do we need limit 1? That's a good question. I always think you did need a limit 1. Yeah. So the issue is the limit syntax in MySQL. The limit... Oh, that's probably not the best article. W3 School sucks! We'll go to dev.mysql.com, which is probably the best one for doing this. The limit syntax. Where is the limit syntax here? Come on. Oh, this is optimization. Fuck. Okay, I think it's this, actually. The select query. So if you go down to it, yeah, here's the thing we need to look at. So this is everything about a select. And you'll see the limit syntax here. This, you can read this as basically, you have to put limit. And then in these curly braces, right, you can have either row count or row count offset offset. So basically, it's either this or this. And if you do this one, there's an optional offset here. Okay? So the way to read this is anything in curly braces is a set of options, and you have one from the options. So in this case, there are two options. There's this option here and this option here. Okay? And in this option, you have square braces, right? And the square brackets are optional. So the idea is, the way you would read this is row count always has to be there if you choose this. The offset doesn't. This offset value with a comma is completely optional. What's a good resource for MS SQL SQLi? Here, this thing. I'm not bullshitting when I say I think this is the single best resource on the internet for SQL injection. It's a combination of years of research that I've put in. It tells you for all 5 main databases how to do various different stuff. Sometimes it tells you multiple ways because there are multiple ways. Okay? Like for error-based exploitation, here are 6 payloads you can use in MySQL. Here are 4 in Postgres. Here are 3 in MS SQL. There's 4 in Oracle. It goes through various time-based injections. It goes through stack-based. It even goes, this is kind of useless crap mostly, but reading files, writing files, executing commands, kind of silly. But this, honestly, here's how to limit and offset queries. Here's all the ways of doing it. You know, with 2 examples, limiting to 1 row, limiting to 1 row starting at row 5. Converting characters, group concatenation, length functions, substring functions, all how to do comments and crap. Yeah. Also, it's not like you know those old pentest monkey where if you copied it, it would be the wrong kind of quotes. These are all the correct kind of quotes. Is it possible to get SQL injection inside XML? I mean, yeah, if it's passed to a database. If anything is passed to a database, you can get SQL injection usually, like unless it's done securely, obviously. Like if you're using prepared statements, clearly not. But if it doesn't matter how you deliver the payload, if the payload is being placed inside a query insecurely, you can generally get SQL injection. All right, let's go back to this then. Okay, so we're going to use this -1 version because it's just easier. So we'll note there are definitely a 3 and a 4. There might be a, I wonder if we can just change this to an A, like a string A. Can we do that? Okay, we can, but can we? Oh, wait, no, I didn't do that. Hang on. I need to click apply changes. Interesting. That apparently worked. But does it appear anywhere? So we're going to put the word Tiberius here. And see if Tiberius appears anywhere. It does not. Alright. So that means whatever this column is, it doesn't appear in the response. It's not used in the response tool. So it's useless. Let's put Tiberius in the second column. Does that appear? No. Okay, so the second column is also useless. So that means we have at least 2 columns that are useful. We have the 3 and the 4 column. And the question is, we already kind of know that these support text because this is literally the title and the text of the article. But in case we didn't know that, what we can do is we can just put some crap in here. So we'll put Tiberius and we'll put Tibbs. And we'll apply the changes and send. And there we go. Tiberius appears there, Tibbs appears there. Okay. How common is Oracle? It's pretty damn common. Like in corporate environments, very common because it's Oracle. Like they're a $1 billion company for a reason. Anyway. Okay, so let's go and figure out what do we need to figure out. We know it's MySQL. So what we want to try and do here is let's try and find the database version. So let's just extract the database version, which we can use. There are 3 ways of doing that in MySQL. This is probably the best way, to be honest. It's just the easiest. What we want to do here is replace one of the known columns. I'm actually going to put these back to 1 and 2. We're going to replace this Tiberius string with version as a function call. And then send. And there we go. So now we got the version number. So we know we're running MySQL 8.0.36 -0 on Ubuntu. Lovely. Okay, the current database. So if we want to know what database we're in, we can just use the database function. So again, we can just replace version with the database function. Apply changes, send. The database we're in is SQLi 2. Useful to know. Okay, if we wanted to list databases, we could, but honestly, we don't have to. So we're going to listing tables. Listing tables we'll use in MySQL the information schema. There's technically, you can also sometimes use this, but this is a far more reliable method. So what we have to do here, we actually have to mess with this query a little bit, because the query already is selecting. So actually what we need to do, because we are already in a select, we just need the table name, and we're going to place it here. And then what we need to do is copy all of this to the end here. Okay? So we're selecting one, and remember, these are irrelevant. These can be any string. These can be any integer. What they can't be is column names that don't exist in this table. Okay? So that's why keeping them as integers or just random strings is always better. So from information schema.tables, where table schema equals DB name. Now there's two ways of doing this. We already technically know the DB name, right? It's SQLi 2. So this, it's probably an error. No, it's not. Okay. It's going to give us articles. What we could have also done is cheated and just used the database function, right? And that would give us the same thing. But since we already got the information out, we'll just use this. So it's given us the table name, but it's only given us one of them. And that's for the same reason it was only given us one thing before, right? Because technically, it's still being passed back to the same code. All the code thinks is that we're giving it a table that contains article. And so it's only going to select the first one. So what we actually need to do here is use a function called group concat. And if we surround the table name with the function group concat, and then we also need to give it a comma as an argument separator, and then a string with a comma in it. Okay. Can I actually expand this more? Yeah, come on. God damn it. Okay, so that actually lost my thing, but there we go. All right, so you see that? We've got group concat. We're taking the table name. This comma is a separator, and then this is a string comma. Okay? So we do that. Now what we'll do... Now, oh, actually, apparently we didn't actually need that separator. Interesting. Is that just defaulting? Okay, it defaults to a separator of a comma. That's useful. How do you do group concat in MS SQL? I'm just going to link you to this because I will show you as well. But basically, if you just literally search for group concat, MS SQL, it's the string ag function for some reason. So there are technically, for these 5 main database variants, there are 3 functions. Group concat is used by MySQL and SQLite. String ag, or aggregate, I just like saying ag, is Postgres and MS SQL. List ag is Oracle. Okay, so we now have all 3 tables. Lovely. So we have literally, oops, articles, flag, and users. Now we only care about the flag table. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go back to the cheat sheet, and we're going to go to list columns. Okay, so we can use this. Let's word wrap everything. Okay, so we do need to do this group and cat column name, column type. I think actually what we need to do here is... I think technically, let's see how that works. Okay, the table name is now flag. And the table schema is SQL2, right? This might not work, but we'll see. So let's edit this. We're going to use group concat here. Apply changes. And then we're going to use this. Okay, yeah, that didn't work because what we need to do is add a comma like that, I believe. Wait. Well, technically, actually, not even a comma. Let's do a colon. That's probably going to look better. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So, we used a colon because... Like I said, the comma is technically separating the actual rows themselves now we know there are two columns. There's an ID column, which is a type of an integer, and there's a flag column, which is type variable character, or varchar, or varchar, however you want to pronounce it. And it has a maximum 250 length. Okay? And now we're basically done. We know that there's a flag column in the flag table. And so we can just adjust our query back. We don't even need this horrible from anymore. We just need to change it to from flag. It was flag, not flags, right? Yep. We just need to change it from flag, and then we just need to change this to flag. And so now you can just see we're selecting 1, 2. Again, these are just integers, so they're meaningless. We're selecting the flag column and the string tibs from flag. And if we send that, we get the flag. Easy, right? Like I said, we didn't need to do that because they literally told us what is the value of the flag in the flag table. We knew that, but I don't like just skipping ahead. That feels like skipping ahead. Because in a real world environment, you won't know where anything is in the database. You can guess. You might guess that there's a users table. And you might guess that there's a username and a password field in the users table. But I've had engagements where there has been an accounts table. Or there's been a table which has a weird name, but is actually where the accounts are stored. Are you the type of areas that works on the Ratelin challenges? I don't know. Probably not. The second from, is that for the union? What do you mean the second from? You mean this from here? This is just... Treat this as a separate select. There are two in the whole query. Yeah, that's because we're unioning. So... You don't necessarily... So if you're only doing basic union detection, you don't need a from. You only need a from if you actually want to select from something from a database. This is a select 1, 2, 3, 4 is perfectly valid MySQL. It's actually just perfectly valid SQL in general. Let's go to dbfiddle.uk. MySQL. Okay, and show tables. Let me just make sure we have some tables here. Ooh, tablers. Sorry, it takes a little while. There's no tables. Okay, so hang on. This is a great resource, by the way, dbfiddle.uk. It's a bit better than SQL Fiddle. SQL Fiddle changed recently. It's gone downhill. Guess I can't really complain about a free service, but still. Okay. So we have some tables here, right? Oh God. Well, I guess I'll put it up here. So if you just select 1, 2, 3, 4, that's perfectly valid as an SQL statement. What it will generate is a table with the column names 1, 2, 3, and 4, and a row with 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy. This is a pseudo table. This table does not exist in the database. It's just created in memory for the purposes of fulfilling what you've asked it to do, which is literally just to select the values 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? But that's really useful if we want to, for example, if we need to select information that's not associated with a table, like version, right? The version is just a function, right? So you can just call that function anywhere. You don't have to be selecting from a table. You can be anywhere and call version because it's a regular function. And what that'll do is it'll return the actual version number, right? So in this case, it'll return a table where the column is version, but the actual version is this, if that makes sense. However, if you want to start selecting data from an actual table, that's where you need to actually do a from. So we can do from actor, for example. And if we can still do 1, 2, 3, 4 from actor. Should probably just delete this. Still running. There. So that'll still work. What it's doing there is selecting every single row from actor, and it's selecting the values 1, 2, 3, and 4 from every row in actor. There aren't any columns in the actor table called 1, 2, 3, 4. These are just values. But technically, this statement is like literally, hey, can you select every row in the actors table? And then for each row, all I want is the number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so that's what it'll give you. Right? Because it doesn't really care what you're selecting. When you're selecting, you can select literal any data. Ordinarily, you would be selecting column names, right? But you don't have to. You don't have to select column names. You may have seen count, right? Or, I don't know, yeah, count all from actor. But that's a relatively common database query to get the number of rows. $200. But that's not a table, that's not a column name in actor, that's just count. That makes sense? So whenever you're selecting from a table as part of a union, you need to specify obviously the table name, and then you need to mess with whatever you're selecting. Okay. We can't use one select for one column. For example, 2, and another for column 3.
Thank you for following.
I don't really understand what you mean. Could you give me like an example? Okay, this was pretty easy, so we'll give it a 2. Boolean-based SQL injection. Should we do another marble race while we wait for this one? Let's do another marble race. I feel like a marble race, chat. Where's the marbles? We got the flag to show in column 2 of the union. At the same time, we can't select some data to display in columns. No, we can. Alright, let's do this one. So there were two. We actually got to display in column 3. There were 2 columns which were displaying in the response. There were column 3 and column 4. As long as a column is displaying in the response, you can extract data to that column. So yeah, you could I could have technically extracted, if I wanted to extract multiple pieces of data, I could have done that. I just didn't. All right. Exclamation point to play in chat on Twitch if you want to play in the marble race. This is not for a giveaway again. We'll do a gamba this time. No, we'll do a gamba. What's the gamba gonna be, chat? Will I finish in the top 10? Let's do that. We'll let you guys gamble for a minute. All right, you can bet your channel points in chat on Twitch. Will I finish in the top 10? Exclamation point play if you want to enter the marble race. A lot of times it's just easier to use one column to extract data, to be honest. Especially if you're only extracting a little bit of data. Exclamation point play. You got about 15 seconds left to gamble your channel points. Win some big money. Am I going to finish in the top 10? Exclamation point play in chat. All right. 60 seconds. Exclamation point play. Join the marble race. Win epic prizes, which in this case is absolutely nothing other than bragging rights. Let's have a look at this track. Ooh, interesting. Is this a Tesla coil? That's supposed to be a Christmas tree? That's kind of cool. Not gonna lie. It is a Tesla coil. Oh, that's so cool. All right. Wow. We got a fucking shark here for no reason. Weird ass little shark, but anyway. Very interesting. Any other plays? You got 15 seconds left. Exclamation point play. Winner equals bugged unicorn and 1 equals 1. Humorous. Okay. And they're off. We have a hole here. As you know, on my channel, there's one question we ask when we do these marble races. Who is going to be the first person to find the hole? Who's it going to be? Round and round they go. Who's going to be the first person to find the hole? Is it Bonzo? Oh my god, it's Bonzo. Bonzo found the hole. Quickly followed by me. It looks like oh no, Neospring missed. Oh, everyone's missing this other hole. There's another hole, chat. Who's going to be the first person to find this hole? Ooh. Is it binary infarct? No, it's SD... like standard error DK. Finding the second hole. Oh my goodness. Everyone's getting zapped. Okay, standard error is off to a great start. Agent 57, they're right on their tail.
Mr. Streamer!
Another big boost. Why the Mr. Streamer? What's happening? People just misuse that. Standard error is still going strong. Agent 57 catching up though. Jackson behind them. Ooh. Oh no. Chaos. Oh god. Utter chaos. Oh my goodness. Digital pickaxe with the skip.
Shit about your opinion. Get fucked.
Literally got exploded past the entrance. Finds another hole. Digital pickaxe. Literally, it's your race to lose right now. You are so far ahead of everybody else. Virtual tack actually catching up, though. Interesting, interesting. Can you find one of these holes before anyone else? Oh, virtual tack. Damn, virtual tack with the freaking pay-to-win skin. Everyone make fun of virtual tack for paying for a skin. It does nothing. But he spent money on it. Virtual tack literally just winning right now. Wow. Wow. Insane. Digital pickaxe, where did you go? You're in 9th, 8th? Question is, will I'm not going to come in 10th. Uh-oh. The believers in chaos. I think I came in 12th. Wow. Damn. Close one. Who is losing a lot of channel points today? Virtual tank. Did not beat the record, unfortunately. But yeah, 12th. Sorry. Wow, 76% of... I don't like how it's actually 76% of bets. There were 6 people who said I'd win, and there were 5 who said I wouldn't. But the 6 people bet far more. So those 5 people who bet that I would not are gonna have a nice little payday. Last 2 streams, I lost all my channel points. Closing in on 100k of channel points. Wow, damn. All right. Okay, let's get back to the hacking. Okay, so we have booted up this lab. Okay. So we can register. We should probably register. Oh, registration is not currently available. God damn it. Can we just do... Oh. Interesting. So is this gonna be... Oh crap! You know what we could try is see if they're using a like. They might be using a like, at which point we need to do a URL encode like that. Taken as false. Okay, they're not using a like thing. So this may be one of those instances where you you may have to use a unless we can find an actual username. We may have to use an or 1 = 1 just because we don't have a valid value. If you have a valid value, you never need an or 1 = 1. If you don't have a valid value, sometimes you do. But let's try Ben. Ha! I got a valid value. No or 1 equals 1 today. Ben is Naham's sex name, by the way, so that's why I know that. Alright. We don't ignore 1 equals 1. We have a valid value. Alright, so what we can do is we can see that we have a taken equals true. If we give it a single quote, we have a taken equals false. Now, that may just mean that obviously nobody has taken the username Ben followed by a single quote. That might, though, it might mean that literally there's an SQL injection, we're breaking something. So what we do is we start out by, let me double select this. We're going to put a space and a single quote. Oh, look, there's an injection. Instant. So we broke the statement, right? Because Ben on its own is true. Taken as true means the username exists, you can't register it. We put a single quote in there. Suddenly taken becomes false. We then do this and it becomes true again. Why? What's going on? What's going on, chat? Well, I'll show you a different way. Taken true. Interesting. This username, BE, single quote space, single quote N, is apparently a registered username. Do we think that's true? Do we think there is a user in the database called BE, single quote space, single quote N? Who thinks there is and who thinks there isn't? Bonzo is learning today. Concatenation, exactly as we learned earlier. If you are in MySQL, which this probably is, and you want to do concatenation, you can do it with spaces. Which means, if I do a new... If we're selecting, let's just say we're selecting all from users where username equals Ben. That's the original query, right? So that was the query we originally had. And then we broke it by sticking a single quote in there, and obviously that can't happen because there's just a dangling single quote. All right. So that broke it. But then what we did was all I did was I put a space and another single quote. And suddenly you have this weird statement where username equals the string Ben with a space and then just an empty string. Well, if you're MySQL, you're thinking, oh, okay, we have a string with a space and another string. That's easy, right? All that means is that I take the first string, I concatenate it with the second string, and that's the value I use, which just happens to be Ben, which is the original value. Same thing as before when we did BE, and I put a single quote, space, single quote. All right. Well, MySQL's like, oh, I know what happens when we have one string, a space, and then another string. I just concatenate them.
Thank you for following.
That's the same concatenation. It's just a little bit, we just moved where the space is. Space was at the end before. Now the space is in the middle of the string. Yeah, it means it's MySQL as well. That makes sense to everyone? Now, we probably also could have done this trick where we do a single quote after the Ben, and then we do a space, double dash. Yeah. So that's literally just doing, okay, we're injecting a single quote, and then we're doing a comment. And so all that is a comment. It's basically saying, hey, ignore everything after this. Ignore everything after this double dash space, and it will. Single quote, space, single quote wouldn't work. What, just that without the Ben? You mean this? That won't work because that's literally just asking it to match completely empty string. as a username.
Thank you for following.
And that there isn't in the database. Remember, we're looking for valid usernames. The username Ben space no auto. Can you give me the full payload just so I'm absolutely sure what you mean? Like, just type it as your entire message in chat right now. Okay, so you start with a single quote. And you have a single quote there. Space. Well, and then space single quote, like that. I mean, that's not going to work because you've quoted Ben. Let me just double check that's what you put in chat. Yeah, that won't work because you've got this extra. Because Ben is technically on its own now. Like, this isn't in a string anymore because of this. It's hard to see in here, but this is... Maybe if I delete all this crap. So anything in red is a string, right? MySQL doesn't automatically string. Well, we can test that for sure. That's actually easier to test. We can just do Ben with a space. And taken as true. But they also may be trimming this before they pass to the database. Right?
Thank you for following.
Portal Ape. I used to watch you on YouTube when I was into cybersec. Why don't you still watch me on YouTube? That's the big question. What do you mean you used to? I'm still on YouTube, kind of. Welcome to the stream. It's good. Good to have you here. Okay, so we found an SQL injection. It's a blind SQL injection. What does blind SQL injection mean? I don't really like the term blind SQL injection. I prefer inferential. Because blind kind of implies you don't use your eyes. When you definitely fucking do. You quit cybersec? Aw, that's a shame. Blind implies you're not using your eyes, and you really definitely are, because ultimately we have to check whether this changes. Right? And it definitely does. So I don't like the term blind. I use the term inferential. Pretty sure I use it in here as well. Inferential. Meaning you infer shit. Inferential is a way better name than blind, to be quite honest with you. Almost nothing about blind SQL injection is actually blind. Inferential is way better. You're inferring stuff about the database because you're making observations about how the response changes. Even in time-based. All right, in time-based, you're still seeing how long the response takes. And then you're measuring that. All right, so you're still inferring stuff. Anyway, inferential. So the difference here is that we cannot extract information directly. Okay, you can't extract any. Previously, right? We got information given to us here. We can't do that with this because literally all that's going to change is false is going to become true. That's it. So how do we extract data? Well, pretty simple actually. So we're gonna start off with Ben here. We're gonna put a single quote, and I'm actually gonna do this. We're gonna change this to an and 1 equals 1, and then we're gonna comment out the rest of the query. What was that? God, I love it when Windows gives me an alert and doesn't tell me what the fuck it is. Alright, hang on a minute. I'm gonna have to... What the fuck was that? I'm so confused. A meeting disconnecting? I wasn't in a meeting. I'm really confused, though. Oh, you know what it might have been? It might have been... Okay, it might have been I was charging some headphone gear, and that was probably it. Okay. Anyway. So we're going to use Ben, single quote, and 1 equals 1. The reason this is going to work for us is because we know... Right, that's not what I copied. Oh, no. Copy that. So we know we're probably injecting into a query that looks a bit like this. And so what's going to happen is we're still matching the username Ben, technically. And then we're going to say and where 1 equals 1, and then we'll kind of comment out the rest of it. Okay, so if we do this, we should get taken equals true. We would if I was actually submitted that properly and applied the changes. We would get taken equals true. Lovely. So what we're actually going to do here is we are going to put taken colon true here, and we're going to say auto scroll. This auto scroll to match when changes is awesome. Because what it'll do is it'll automatically just match us there. Alright. And so we have this and 1 equals 1, and we have taken equals true. And now what we can do is we can say and 1 equals 2. And I can actually maybe apply it again. And we have taken equals false. Lovely. What we have now is basically a canary. This 1 equals 2. Okay? A canary, an oracle, whatever you want to call it. This little thing here is how we're going to get data out. Because what this is, if these two values match each other, right? If these two values equal, we get a true. If these two values do not equal, we get a false. And so there's nothing stopping us from replacing this 1 equals 1 with a guess. Right? And what do I mean by guess? What I mean by guess is we replace one of these values, let's just say the first one, with some kind of select statement that
New
selects
subscription received.
some data from the
Dispensing
database.
gratitude. Gratitude dispensed.
Thank you, Nefarious, for subscribing at tier 1. Subscribe for 26 months. So we're gonna replace this first one here with a query, a select statement that extracts some piece of information from the database. We're going to replace this one on the right with a guess as to what that data might be. If we get a true, we know that the guess was correct. If we get a false, we know the guess was wrong. Okay? So let's do an example. Let's replace this. We're going to put it in parentheses just to make it a little bit clearer. We're going to select the length, right, of whatever the database function gives us. Okay? So the length function, if you check the cheat sheet here, The length function counts the number of bytes. Okay. In MySQL, of whatever we give it. And the database function, which is down here somewhere, gives us the name of the current database. Okay? So all we're doing here is we're saying, okay, return the database name, pass it to the length function, and select that. Select is just, hey, give us that, please. So this is going to be a number. And we can keep equals 1 if we want. And it's false. And what we could do is we could just...
Thank you for following.
We could do equals 2. And it's false. This is quite slow. So instead, what we can do, because we're just dealing with numbers here, we can actually just use the greater than. Is it greater than 2? It is. Ooh. Is it greater than 10? We're gonna try and find the limits here. It's not greater than 10. That's great. We have some information. We know that the length of the database name is between 2 and 10. It's not 2. It can't be 2 because we've already confirmed it's greater than. It could be 10. It's basically either 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So let's take a value between 3 and 10. I think that's probably 7. Is it greater than 7? It's greater than 7. So now we've narrowed it down to 3 values. It's either 8, 9, or 10. Easiest one to go for is a 9 now. It's greater than a 9. That tells us everything. We don't technically need to confirm this right now, but we can. We know that it's not greater than 10, and we know that it is greater than 9. There's only one value it could possibly be, which is 10. And so if we do equals 10, we get true. And so we know now the database, database database is, oh god, what am I doing? 10 characters long. 9.5? Yeah, that would be good. It's not 9.5, but it is 10 characters. Epic. Okay. So the question is, can we now figure out what the values in the database are? Well, yeah, we can actually. We can use substrings. In MySQL, you can actually use substring or substra. The start value should be set to 1, not 0. This is basically not array indexing if you want to start from the first character. So what we can do now is we'll replace length with substring. And then inside this function, we're going to give it start value of 1 and a length of 1. Okay? Now we're dealing with letters, so we could just do equals A, right? And that would have been a really lucky guess. But that's going to take a while because now we have to iterate through every letter. There's no way of doing a greater than with strings, unfortunately. So can anyone think of another way we could potentially speed this up? Anyone in chat want to hazard a guess at how we could potentially speed this up? A binary search? But how can we do a binary search? A binary search needs us to know greater than. You can't do greater than with strings. It gets really funky, at least the last time I checked with strings. If we go back to here. If we do select A greater than B. is a 0. I think if we do select A less than B, it's weird. There's something funky that goes on. Or maybe it does work in this. Is it that there's something weird that goes on with capital letters? Okay, maybe in MySQL you can do this. There is a much easier way, though. I never recommend this way. It's got weird in the past. But yeah, MSQQQ, is that MSSQQQ has hit the nail on the head. Convert it to ASCII or something. Exactly. So, yeah, I would never recommend doing greater than with strings. It can get messy. Even though apparently in MySQL maybe it works, but there's always a way to guarantee that it will work for any database, and that's to use functions that convert letters into numbers. And there are several. So in Postgres, MS SQL, and SQLite, you can convert strings into decimals, or letters into decimals, right? So these are just the decimal values. Even though it says ASCII, by the way, this function should work for any Unicode. Okay? It'll convert it into a decimal. In MySQL, you can use hex, which converts it to hex. This is not a number 61. This is a hex number. Right? So I should say, this isn't the decimal number 61. This is the hex number 61. Same for Oracle. So what we can do here... but sorry, these are still numbers, even though they're hexadecimal, right? So you can still compare numbers using hexadecimal numbers using greater than, less than, which is really cool. So what we want to do here is we want to surround this with the hex. We're surrounding our substring with the hex function, and we're going to surround our guess with the hex function, and then we're going to look at our ASCII table. We're going to go to our ASCII table. Now, luckily, most databases, or base database names, will be in the ASCII table. And even better than that, most database names are they might start with a 0. They're probably not going to have a space at the start. But, even if they do, we're only really dealing with this section of the table here. So basically, we're only really dealing with anywhere from a space up to a tilde. And luckily, we want to do a binary search. So we want to find halfway between a space and a tilde is, roughly speaking, a capital O. Okay? So what we can do here is we can place a capital O in here. And instead of equals, we're going to replace this with greater than. Okay? So let's apply the changes and send. We get a true. So we've instantly eradicated from all possibilities any letter here and any letter here, including the O, actually. So we know that the first letter in the database name is either, it's between P and the tilde. So again, we're going to do that again. We're going to find the halfway point between P and tilde. It's probably going to be like an F or a G. Let's choose lowercase f. And so we're just going to replace this with f. True. Lovely. So now we know we're between a G and a tilde. Let's go with an R. I can probably just change the character here. Okay, it's above an R. So it's between. So it's greater than R. So it's between S and tilde. Let's go with a Y. Ooh. It's not greater than a Y. So it's basically either S, T, U, V, W, X, or Y. So V's probably a good guess here. It's false. Okay, so that literally just means it's either an S, a T, or a U. So we'll go with T. It's not T, which means it's got to be S. Literally has to be S. And it's S. So we figured out the first character. It's probably SQLi 3. Let's be sensible. But that's how you do it manually. We're not using any previous knowledge for this. Okay, and this is actually how SQL Map. If you ever want to know how SQL Map figures this shit out, that's how SQL Map does it. We can't be user table because it starts with an S. But we're not going to use SQL Map. We are going to use intruder and just spam all the letters. Because the other way of doing this is literally to use this to basically use the substring to continually change this value and continually change this value until we find matches. So what we're going to do is we're going to place an iterator there. I'm going to place one there. So the first payload is going to be the numbers. Going to be a numbers payload between 2, because we already have the first one. 2 to 10, incrementing by 1 each time. Okay. And the second... need to do cluster bomb. The second payload, which is this one here, is going to be the letters... So, simple list will do it. Letters A to Z, 0 to 9, probably A to Z, capital as well. Might include punctuation, but we'll figure that out when we come to it. Okay, now there's only going to be 558 requests. We'll start the attack, and really what we want to do is just search for values. We're going to go filter, true, apply, and we're going to sort them by payload 1. So already we know the second value is a Q, the third is an L, the fourth is an I. There's no fifth value, which means it's not in the results that we got. But 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 is THREE. So we can probably be sure that the fifth value is an underscore, and we can immediately just confirm that over here, right? So fifth value is an underscore. True. Excellent. So we know it's SQLi underscore 3. Anyone not understand that bit? Is that clear? Good. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to find the table names that are in here. And let's double check. Expires in... Okay. So here's the question. Do we want to go through and iterate through the table names, even though they've told us the table name? Or do we just want to go and skip to enumerating the column names in the table name? Or do we want to even skip further, because we know that there's literally a flag column in the flag table? What do you guys want to do? Do you want to skip to where we just enumerate the flag? Or do you want to enumerate the tables, enumerate the columns? Well, it's not up to you. That's why I'm giving you guys the option. Enumerate the table names, okay. Got 1 vote for enumerate the table names. Enumerate tables is good. Okay, cool. find a flag and then use the rest of the time to get it. I mean, we'll do that anyway. Okay, so we'll go back to our cheat sheet. We're going to use the group concat function again, though. What we could do, technically speaking, we could go and list tables here. So what we could do is we could count the number of table names in the SQL3 database. So what we're going to do here is we're going to replace this select with this one. So we're counting the number of table names from the information schema tables table, where the table schema is SQLi_3. And we are going to say, is that equal to 0? Just to make sure we get a false. Excellent. Of course it's not equal to 0. There's got to be some tables in there. Is it greater than 0? Yes, excellent. Is it greater than 10? No. Is it greater than 5? Is it greater than 3? It's greater than 3, so is it equal to 4? We could probably just do equal to 4. No, it must be equal to 5. No. Did I just mess up? Hang on. The count of table names is... Oh, somehow that got in there. That's not good. Oh, it's not greater than 3. Okay. I don't know how that got in there. Is it greater than 2? Is it greater than 1? So it's equal to 1 then. No, equal to 2. Alright, it's 2. Good, alright. Okay, so I don't know what the hell went on there. I probably just mistyped, but we've established that there are only 2 tables. Now what we can do is we can use a group concat on the table name. Okay. And we know that that's going to automatically put a comma between them. What we can do then is do a length function around this. Okay. Set this back to 0, the greater than 0. So now what we're doing is we're basically going to... This query is going to return something probably like users, or probably even flag, comma users, right? And then it's going to pass that to the length function. And all we're checking now is the length of this whole string. Okay? So length of the whole string is greater than 0. We hope it is. It is. Okay, good. Now can we just do greater than 10? It's not greater than 10. That's good. That means those 2 table names are quite short. Let's do greater than 5. It is greater than 5. Okay. Let's do greater than 7. It is greater than 7. There's the 7. I'm just going to replace this with 8. It's greater than 8. Is it 9? Greater than 9. So is it literally just equal to 10? Maybe we could have just guessed 10 at the start. Did not update that. It is equal to 10. Well, that's really useful. So again, what we can do here is send this to intruder. Well, actually not send this to intruder, but what we can do now is do the substring, right? Substring of the group concat 1 1 equal, and then we need to put a hex around it. And then we're going to do hex of A or something, right? Apply changes. False, that's fine. Send this to intruder now. And what we're going to do is change We're going to iterate over the index, basically the position of the substring, and we're also going to iterate over the letter here. And when we go to the payloads, we need to change it to a cluster bomb attack. First payload is literally just the numbers. We're going to go from 1 all the way to 10. Okay. The second is going to be a simple list. It's going to be A to Z, lowercase, A to Z capitals, 0 to 9. It's also going to be a comma because we know there's definitely going to be a comma in there somewhere. So we'll put that in. We're also going to say don't make an unmodified baseline request. And that should be fine. And so now what we want to do is do that trick again where we go taken equals true. Sort by those. Lovely, look at that. We have FLAG, comma, USER. I actually literally just guessed. Oh, crap. Okay, just let me resume. Luckily, it doesn't take long to resume. All right, so I just guessed that. It was literally the case, though. Flag, comma, users. I mean, it was pretty obvious, but... So we've got the flag and users tables. So now we need to figure out the columns. Okay, well, here's the columns. Oops. Now, we don't really need column type either. We can skip over column type. And we don't want to do it for the users table. So we're going to remove column type here. We're going to replace this with flag. And we're going to place this with SQLi 3. And we could do a count. You know, what we should do. We'll do a group concat again. And we'll do a length of the group concat. Okay, so we're gonna place this with that. And we're gonna do equals 0. We get a false, that's good, that's what we expected. Now we're going to go greater than 0 to make sure we get a true. We get a true, excellent. Now we're going to go greater than 10. False, okay, so that's actually quite short as well. So is it greater than 5? It is greater than 5, okay, so we're going to go to 7. Not greater than 7, okay, well at this point we could just basically go... Well, is it equal to 6 or is it equal to 7? That's the only two options we have. I think it's just equal to 7 then. Equal to 7. Okay, excellent. So, what we can do here, we can just use substring again. 1, 1. Surround this with the hex. Similarly, hex here. Put an A there. It's going to be a false. That's fine. Do the exact same thing again. We're going to send to intruder. Change it to cluster bomb. We want this first one to be the iterator here. We want this value to be an iterator here. Exact same thing as before. Payload 1 is a number between 1 and 7. And payload 2 is going to be the simple list again. We're going to go A to Z caps, 0 to 9, and a comma. We know the comma is going to be there. We don't want to make an unmodified base. Start attack. And again, we're going to basically do this. I seem to have accidentally selected the ones that are always true. And we have flag and ID instantly. FLAG is the first one, then a comma, then ID. Okay? Okay. Well, now we only care about the flag from flag. So we're going to select the flag from flag, right? But again, we want to select the length. See how many characters we're dealing with. Go back to repeater. So in here, select the length from length. Select length of flag from flag. Set it equal to 0 just to double check. It's false. Is it greater than 0? True. Lovely. Greater than 10. It is greater than 10. Okay, here we go. So what we do now is we just double. Greater than 20? It's not greater than 20. Okay, it's between 10 and 20. Is it greater than 15? No. Is it greater than 12? No. Probably just going to be equal to 10 again, isn't it? At this point, we could just do equal 10, equal 11, etc. Okay, so it's probably equal to 11 then. No? Is it equal to 12? Maybe that's it. Equal to 12. Hackverter. Hackverter just converts stuff. It's really useful. So if you want to base 64 encode stuff. But the really cool thing is just the amount of stuff it can do, and the fact that you can put these tags in Intruder, and it will automatically process them in Intruder, which is really nice. Reasonable alternative to burp. It depends on what you mean by reasonable. Zap is free and is okay. I wouldn't use it for actual pen testing, but it's fine. Kaido has a free version. The paid version is not worth the money, in my opinion. It doesn't really do anything that Zap doesn't do for free, and it certainly doesn't do even 10% of the things that Burp does. Burp Pro, that is. But you should try out Zap before you try anything. Burp also has a free community edition. If you're not doing if you just want to proxy stuff, then Burp Free will do that. Fine. Okay. So, we know that it's 12 characters. So again, we're just going to use the same thing. We're going to change this to a substring. We're going to do 1, comma 1, comma 1. We're going to hex this. Right? We are going to replace this with this. We're then going to replace this with a hex function of an A. Okay, send that to Intruder. Clear that. Again, we're going to select the first one here to add a little payload. Cluster bomb this. This is going to be numbers 1 to 12. Second payload is going to be the simple list. Now, I'm fairly certain... Oh, we should probably extend time. Good. I'm fairly certain it has curly braces, look. So what we'll try and do is we'll do A to Z, 0 to 9, and do curly braces, closing curly braces, maybe an underscore. And do that. Okay. We want to search for requests that do taken true. Apply. And there we go. We have FLAG all caps. And then S6EGVI. So if I just... Oh god, come on. Okay, I guess I don't know why it's so slow. Just moving the browser, really? Okay. Come on. What is going on? Why is it... That's bizarre. I don't know what's going on there. Okay, what we will do then, we'll write it down here. Flag S6 3 GVI. I think that's it. Hooray! Okay, any questions about that? And that's the SQL injection stuff done. So that was relatively difficult. I would say maybe a 4 if you don't know what you're doing. SQL map would have done that. Yeah. We can actually try it with SQL map before we go raid Helen. So if we give it this valid thing here, what we can do, actually we just copy the URL technically. So we'll do SQL map -u, paste in there, -p username. Now, since we know the database, I'm just going to speed this up. We're going to do dbms mysql. We're going to use technique B for blind, or Boolean, I think maybe. Threads 10. That should work. Alright, so it's instantly found the SQL injection. Lovely. And it's confirmed that it's MySQL. Just to show you how quickly this works, let's just say we want to enumerate the database, current DB. So with SQL map, you just literally rerun the command and you add to it. So it's already figured out it's 10, and then it's figured out it's SQLi 3. Boom, done. See how fast that was? So what we can do now is we can say, okay, well, in the current database, SQLi_3, can we enumerate the tables? And what we'll also do is we'll do v3. What v3 does, v3 is my favorite verbosity, whatever you want. v3 actually shows you all the queries that SQL map is executing. Look at all these. So it's retrieve flag. That was all it did. That's all it did for flag. And you can actually see what it's doing. So in this one, it's counting the number of table names, right? And it's basically comparing them to numbers. It's saying, well, is it greater than 51? No, okay. Well, it figures out it's got 2. So I think it's actually these are hex values. I think maybe. I forget. Anyway, it's doing something and it's trying to figure out. It figures out there's two tables. Now it's trying to figure out the length of the first table, right? So it's comparing it to various numbers. It figures out it's 4, and that's this is it figuring out the actual letters, right? So it's basically doing the same thing we did, binary search. It's just doing it faster because it can. But it figures out flag and users. And then all we have to do is go back here and we say, okay, well, in the table flag, can we enumerate the columns? And again, SQL map has a memory. So every time you run it, it remembered where the SQL injection was. It remembered that there's an SQL_3 database. It remembers that there's a flag table. What's this? This is its part of its way of ensuring that we're in. It's just another way of doing the SQL injection. You don't actually have to comment out anything. SQL map will try and avoid commenting out queries as much as possible. So this is just its way of avoiding commenting out queries. It's technically breaking back into the SQL statement. But yeah. Just think of it as an and 1 = 1. It's just doing an and 1 equals 1 at the end there. So we've asked it to enumerate the columns. So what it's doing now is basically the exact same thing, just a little more complicated, a little more human unreadable, but slightly more reliable method of enumerating the columns of the flag table. So it retrieved ID. Now it's trying to figure out the other one. Oh, look, it's done it. ID and flag. It even figured out the types. And then finally, what you can do once you've found the columns, well, say we only want the flag column, right? So we can do -C, capital C for flag, and then we can just do dump. And that will just literally dump all the rows in the flag table for the column flag. And there you go. Done. Very, very simple. This is why everyone uses SQL Map, because SQL Map does it much faster. But if you don't know the theory, then you're gonna miss stuff. SQL Map is not perfect. I have found SQL injections where SQL Map completely missed. So never rely on SQL Map, but SQL Map is great if you want to just enumerate. If you've already found something, or you found what you think is SQL injection, and you just want to enumerate stuff, well, yeah, but that's the thing. You should know the theory. I would never recommend anyone to, even bug bounty hunters, going in to like try and find SQL Map, try and find SQL injections with just running SQL Map. Don't do it. Learn your SQL Map. I had a guy on Twitter reach out to me like a few months ago. Maybe it was less than a month ago, but they were basically like, hey, I ran this new tool, I think it's Gary, and it said there was an SQL injection, and it can't extract anything. And it's like, well, have you tried extracting stuff manually? And they basically, I don't know how to do it manually. I'm like, well, you shouldn't be running a tool, really, at all, if you don't know how to do this stuff manually. Like, those tools aren't made to basically make SQL injection easy for newcomers. They're made to help pros do it faster. But there's no way that anyone should be using SQL Map when they don't know what the SQL is like, when they don't know what SQL is even doing. And this is honestly, this is a lot of how I learned SQL injection. All right, believe it or not, there was a time when I didn't really know much about SQL injection. Okay, I knew the basics, but I certainly didn't know, like, even 75% of the stuff I know now. But I used SQL Map in labs. You can use SQL Map in labs. When I say don't use SQL Map, like, don't use it in real life unless you know what you're doing. If you use it in labs and you look at the, like, V3 is amazing. Everyone should run SQL Map with V3 because it'll teach you shit. All right, because you can look at this and so it tells you what it's doing. Fetching the number of columns, right? For actually up here, sorry. Where is it? Right. So it's fetching columns for table flag in database SQL 3. It's telling you what it's doing. It's trying to figure out how many columns there are. And it retrieved 2. Okay, so it went from here, right? From this line, it didn't know how many columns there were in the flag table. To this line, now it knows there's 2. And it did it in those, what was that, 7 requests? How? Just ask yourself how. And then you read the request and you read what these functions do. And you're like, oh, okay, so it's figuring out, it needs to go to the columns table. It knows what the table name is. This is just hex encoded table name. It knows what the schema name is. Okay, so it's basically counting the number of column names, converting it to some value, and just doing a bunch of comparisons. And by the end of the comparisons, it knows for sure that there's two columns, sorry. So this is just a binary search. This is exactly the same thing we did. Right? And then it's retrieving the length of the first one. Yeah? You can see the first one. It does limit 0, 1. Here we go. So remember, limit 0, 1 means technically limit 1 offset 0. It's stupid, but... So all it's doing here, retrieving the length of query output. This is slightly more cryptic. All this means is it's trying to find the length of the first column. Okay? That's all that means. And it doesn't know the length of the first column here, but by this point it does. It knows it's 4 characters long. And it does it using 6 queries this time. Slightly faster. But it's the same thing. It's getting the character length of the column name, right? It's doing a bunch of math and just doing a binary search. And now it knows. Lovely. Is there a way to enumerate the database without access to information schema DB? Well, firstly, I think everything has access to information schema anyway. I think that's a pretty... I'm not entirely sure if a database can actually not have access to it. Short answer, no. Long answer, kinda. But it's basically guessing shit. It's a lot more guesswork. I believe you can. It's very hard.
Thank you for following.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Perform 6 queries. Oh, it's multi-threaded, so it does all this concurrently. The only time it won't do this is when you're using time-based blinds. But yeah. SQL Map's cool. Running it with -v3 will teach you shit. You won't ever use this. Like, this syntax is, like I said, this is a way more reliable syntax. But this is fine. Like, all the stuff I show here. Like, a lot of this information I actually quote down the bottom right. Like, a lot of these are basically just taken out of SQL Map. So, a lot of this stuff is how SQL Map does things. Like, things like these time-based injections are basically just how SQL Map does it. It did 94 queries and 6.94. Yeah, because it used 10 threads. Pretty fast. All right. We are going to go raid Helen. She's playing... Unfortunately, she's not doing tech. She's doing a scary game. But I'm one of her mods, and I probably should be watching. But she's playing Alien Isolation on Nightmare difficulty, which is honestly hilarious. So we're going to raid her because Helen's a friend. But we will, yeah, let me just set up the raid. Hang on. Even if you don't, so please stay along for the raid. Even if you don't watch some of her stream, just stay along. And, yeah. Say hi, and then you can leave. But, hey, if you want to watch her play a really scary... I mean, it's not that scary. It's just Alien. If you want to watch her play a fun game and potentially scream a lot. There we go. All right, the raid is good to go. Let's put the stream ending stuff up. All right, thank you for joining me on Web Up Wednesday. I've been Tiberius. Please follow me on Twitter. Join my Discord server. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, give me a follow on Twitch. And let's all just raid Helen and give us some love. All right. See everybody probably next Monday or so. I don't know. Sometime. Anyway. See you guys. Have a good rest of the week.